So here we are with the first Descendant, a third-person looter shooter made by Nexon Games and currently in open beta. I was going into this with high expectations because the trailers looked amazing and the gameplay looked really enticing. I'm a fan of third-person shooters and was really looking forward to trying this out. But yeah, there's some glaring issues with this game that I want to talk about a bit. Now, this is an interesting game. It seems to be a blend of Warframe and Destiny 2 and tries to bring its own take on the looter shooter genre. I've put about 20 plus hours into the beta so far, and I'd be lying if I said there wasn't fun to be had here. It's why this is so disappointing, because I can see the potential in this game, and can only hope the devs make some changes to improve the experience. The first Descendant has several areas where it shines and several where it falls kinda flat. Upon starting the game, you're presented with 3 established characters to choose from, and each have their own unique abilities to use. Later on you can unlock more, but for now I chose Ajax, the tank character, and from there I was impressed by how nice the movement felt. Sprinting felt smooth, combining with the grappling, and there was a great feeling of verticality where you can grapple to any ledge and shoot down on enemies. You can even directly grapple to them and do a cool melee attack. I found myself having more fun grappling to high places than shooting at targets sometimes. It could be a little janky though, where I'd grapple to a point and slide down a ledge instead or get stuck completely. I was playing on PC, so I can't speak for how it feels on console, but the shooting felt pretty good. I didn't have too many issues with it and was enjoying how solid the gameplay felt. The aiming felt snappy, the hipfire was good too, but my main issue is that many of the guns, minus a few, sounded weightless and unimpactful. The bullet sound effects didn't sound as heavy and effective as I'd like. There's also a sound effect for when your bullets hit the target, and this audio feedback can be a bit too loud. It would even overshadow the voice coming from my character and enemy NPCs around me. Here's some examples. Audio was all over the place in this game. It's a small nitpick, but some heavier sounding weapons would go a long way. Despite the audio, the guns were fun to use. There's quite a few options in the beta, about 4 variants per weapon type, but I noticed those variants didn't seem all that different from each other, minus some minor stat differences in appearances. The main way you differentiate guns is via modules. Modules can be applied to any weapons above its stats, which can be upgraded further to improve their power. But there's a limit to how many you can apply. The limit, or capacity, is dependent on how much a module adds to capacity. This amount increases if you upgrade the module, so it made me think twice about upgrading. I like the variety of modules, but I typically stuck to the same ones for each gun. I also noticed the ammo system borrows heavily from Destiny, having each gun use a certain type of ammo that's color-coded, and to replenish that ammo, you need to pick up the corresponding ammo type from killed mobs. I don't have a problem with this directly, but I was running out of ammo quite often at times. Some more ammo drops would be nice to fix this, since I barely got to use my heavier weapons despite them being my favorite to use. As soon as you're done with the prologue, you're brought to Albion, which is basically the tower from Destiny in just about every way except layout and name. Even talking to NPCs is similar to how Destiny does it. It's here where you find quest NPCs and shops where you can upgrade or sell guns and modules. The most interesting NPC here is Anais, who sells a variety of items that you need to research. The cost of research is usually gold, but some also require another currency. The research options include new descendants, weapons, the components needed to unlock them, and upgrade materials. The interesting part here is that research takes real time to finish. So when I started researching Bunny, one of the unlockable characters, it was going to take 12 real hours before I got her. To unlock more characters, you need 3 of these components from the shop that each take 6 hours to complete, plus a code component. Combine the times and it takes 18 hours to get them all. If you add the time to research a character, you're looking at a total of 30 hours to get your Descendant. However, you're able to boost the research with credits to instantly complete it. But this makes me wonder just how much time some things will take in the future. Now, since the first Descendant is going to be free to play, it really feels like this game is going to be heavily monetized and perhaps even pay to win. I can already see it now, you having to spend real money on these currencies to boost the research that will otherwise take a week to finish. I hope I'm wrong, but this is usually how things go with Korean free-to-play games. When you continue the main story, you're brought to the first zone, Kingston, and it's here where the game's main problems start to become apparent. The map looks gorgeous, as expected from an Unreal 5 game, but the issue is that it's just empty. There's buildings that make for some good grapple points, and unless you start a mission that spawns enemies, There's nothing besides the NPCs at the fast travel points, and the odd player you run into. It's also strange that I rarely encountered players, at most 2 per map during my time playing. I'd run from mission to mission not seeing anything, and it feels like there should be more to encounter. There's no roaming enemies, there's no points of interest, no enemy camps to take on, there's nothing. If no other players there, it's just you and the world. Now, I'm not oblivious to how most players do things, which is they probably skip any mobs regardless. But their presence would still make the world feel more lived in or threatening. When the world is so dead like this, it makes me wonder what the point was of making it. And this doesn't change in other zones either. They each have unique environments, but the same problem persists. The world is dead, to put it plainly. On the topic of missions, they all follow some type of format, which is either defending a point, defending multiple points, picking up items to return to a drop-off, or some variation of that. You bounce between missions per area in a zone until you reach the final story mission that leads down a dungeon with a final boss to fight. This doesn't change after Kingston. The next 2 zones in the beta, the Sterile Land and Vespers, have the same exact gameplay loop. At first I didn't mind it so much and just enjoyed myself. However, I know these types of missions can get boring if it's all there is to do. I mean, towards the end of my 20 hours, I was feeling the fatigue a bit. I know these types of missions are commonplace in this genre, but how these missions work leaves a lot to be desired. In a lot of cases, I'd end up waiting after each wave killed, standing around doing nothing, until the next one came in because I killed everything so fast. It could definitely feel very boring, and it's one thing they need to address. The mini-bosses in these missions weren't anything special either. They all just do a special attack, but then go immune until you destroy whatever objects are giving them that immunity. It all felt kinda samey, with no real differences between them. Now, besides the open world missions, there's 2 other types of content that you can do with 3 other players. Boss fights called intercept battles and defense missions called special operations. I've done both, and the intercept battles are definitely the highlight of this game. Each boss felt fun, imposing, and challenging enough to make me have to watch my positioning and health bar a few times, but not enough to where I felt frustrated. My only nitpick is that each intercept battle takes place in the same arena. It'd be nice to have a change of arena per battle to make for some different approaches to fighting the boss. The other content, Special Operations, is made up of 2 styles of defense missions. It's either you defend a point from incoming waves of enemies, or move to several points on the map, defend those, then move to the next one. I enjoyed these as just a classic horde mode, and they could get pretty intense. But it's nothing groundbreaking, and they're really the same as the normal missions out in the world, only with more waves and increasing difficulty. And now I want to talk about the worst part of this game, which is the story and voice acting. It's pretty bad, but if I'm to be honest, I wasn't going into this expecting Witcher 3 levels of storytelling and voice acting. All the NPCs are stiff like they're robots, the lip sync doesn't even look halfway decent, and again, listen to this voice acting.
Why are you so late? Then why did you even bother coming back? You could have just told me that over the radio. Alpha must be able to see all your entry logs as well, so why did you come back? Are you trying to screw with me? I must have assured Alpha that I was going to retrieve the Ironheart so many times.
It'll be the very first colossi from the swarming hordes to arrive in Ears. Its 6 legs give it additional mobility. On top of this, its appearance is that of a crustacean wielding heavy firearms. I'm only surprised it doesn't smell like crab cakes.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking with that NPC. I don't usually play these games for the story anyways, yet I like to have somewhat of an idea of what's happening. Still, the writing and the characters, they're all so boring that I just stopped trying. Overall, this game could definitely be something special if only it wasn't held back by a lot of strange gameplay choices. On top of that, expect this game to almost certainly be monetized like crazy and be a grind fest. The layout is all there in the research menu, and with how many options there are for customization, there's definitely going to be people who pay for this type of game. If you're someone who likes getting a huge amount of loot, mowing down waves of enemies, unlocking cool characters, and unlocking their skins, then this game is going to be a treat for you. Except if nothing changes from beta to launch, then I don't see this game as a long-term investment. It's a shame because there's a lot of good here. The intercept battles feel properly epic, the movement feels really fluid, especially as Bunny when you're zooming across the map. The Descendant abilities were fun to use from the few characters I tried. It was satisfying to shoot down enemies and blast groups of them with AoE. It all feels really fun, and synergy between other players with different Descendants can be pretty cool. There's also weapon transmission, which upgrades a weapon using another higher level weapon. It's a good system that allows me to keep using a weapon I like and keep the level relevant. All of this combined and you have a combat system that's a good start and should be built upon and improved. Like, for example, Why isn't there a slide feature? This game definitely feels like it wants to have sliding. I can't express how many times I've tried to slide because it feels natural for this type of game. Yeah, you have rolling, but more options never hurt anyone. There's a lot of minor issues with this game I didn't touch on much either. Like, the UI could be a bit janky, especially when trying to sell or dismantle items. The AI could be dumb and get stuck or just not do anything at all. Man, this is a personal nitpick. The game gave me so much loot that I'd often have to stop after a fight to dismantle everything to make room for the better loot. Combine that with the janky UI, it can be a chore to constantly clean your inventory. The mastery rank system increases your inventory space, yet I still felt there was a lot of downtime breaking down items. And finally, I just don't think this game does anything unique enough on its own to separate it from Destiny or Warframe. It wants to take aspects from both games, but does neither of them well enough to establish itself as a true competitor. I really want to like this game more. Hopefully by release they listen to player feedback and make some proper changes. Anyway, those are my thoughts and impressions. I don't think this is a horrible game, I just think it needs a bit more work. I could have gone way more in depth, but this video would be too long. Do you agree with my points or do you disagree? I'd appreciate any feedback in the comments since it's my first time doing this kind of video. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you guys later.